Good morning. This Screencastify is for the U.S. history students that weren't able to log into the Zoom to see the notes. We covered the progressives, just the first tiny part of it yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and record what we covered yesterday in the live Zoom. So we talked about the term progressives and made sure that we put our proper notes heading on, like we've been in the habit of doing. The era we're covering is 1890 to 1920. So the word progressive has the word progress in it, and it means to improve something, hopefully. When you make progress, you get better. The progressives of the time wanted to help with many of the social problems of the time, and that would be poverty, child labor, workers' rights, and sanitation, and that's the one we focused on talking about. We're going to be covering Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, and sanitation means general cleanliness, and a lot of those things you're going to see in a minute we take for granted. Food safety is one, the sanitation in our cities, garbage collection, that kind of thing. Another problem they wanted to improve on was lack of education. Education is something we kind of take for granted, although these days it's much harder to do. Even if you get to sit in your jammies, you still it's very disconnected feeling, and it's very difficult to keep up. So that's something that education did not everybody had access to it before the 1920s, before it became the law. Um, So when we did these notes yesterday, I kind of gave a warning ahead of time that some of the stuff would be a little bit gross and weird. But what you're looking at here is an advertisement. And when I had people kind of guess through these primary sources, obviously this one says they're selling cocaine toothache drops. This is real. I was accused of creating this or photoshopping it. Cocaine was used commonly as a painkiller until they start to realize people are dropping dead from using these drugs that contain cocaine, because obviously it's very damaging and you can overdose. So it's a lot more risky. But these things used to be common medicines. So the first thing I want you to write down on your notes and is a question that's going to come up over and over. Why should the government get involved in food and medicine safety? So we're very used to it when we go to the store and we are looking for any kind of food or medicine. It's in a package, it's labeled, it has expiration dates, it has ingredients. All of those things are because of these laws that protect us. You can't sell just a can of something with no labels indicating what's inside. That's illegal. And you're going to see through my examples today why that's illegal now, because obviously they were selling very dangerous products without warnings. And, obviously, like a product like this could kill someone. And the most horrifying thing about this poster you see is there's children there, implying that this product can be used for children. So keep that. You don't necessarily have to answer that question now, you will later. But keep that question in mind as we go through these examples. So this is also a primary source. And what it says is, for a better start in life, start cola earlier. So they're encouraging this mother to give soda or Coca-Cola or, any kind of soda pop to a child. And this child looks to be like maybe one or so and would be drinking out of a bottle. And we know that it's a horrible idea to put soda pop in a baby's bottle. I mean, it's really hard to see the text at the bottom, but next to the bottle where it's encouraging you to give soda to kids, it says promotes active lifestyle and boosts personality. So you're giving a product that's full of caffeine and sugar to a small baby. That is definitely going to give them a boost, but it's also extremely dangerous for them. Too much caffeine, too much sugar. And when babies drink from bottles, they have a tendency to fall asleep with them, like in their crib. And if that child is drinking like a sugary drink, that's very bad for their little baby teeth. can also damage their adult teeth. So, important thing about this ad is when you look down at the bottom, the very bottom says this ad is produced by the Soda Pop Board of America. So that particular group of people, their interest is in selling soda. They don't care about your baby's teeth. They don't care about, the health of the child, possibly getting diabetes, whatever. They want to promote their product, and so they're trying to do it by getting moms to believe it's going to benefit their babies. So we have a lot more regulations about stuff like this now. Obviously, it's dangerous to give a child soda like that. Okay, these two products. So nowadays, you guys are like 16 or so, you don't see advertisements for cigarettes very much. And the reason you don't is because slowly over time, it has become against the law. There are heavy regulations about cigarettes because we know how damaging they are now. We know they cause lung cancer, emphysema, birth defects. Every time you've ever seen a package of cigarettes, it has a warning label on it. That is all because the laws have changed. Cigarettes used to be pretty benign, like probably 75% of adults used to smoke. Um, and you would get really weird ads like these that you're seeing on the left. That ad is actually telling you that cigarettes are a treatment for asthma. And as you know, asthma is a disease of the lungs. Your lungs close up, and obviously cigarettes would not be good for that. On the right, they're making you believe that that guy with the cigarette is a doctor, and he is recommending Camel cigarettes as safer than other cigarettes. And again, there weren't laws about lying like this in advertisements. They just kind of made stuff up. But we've changed those laws over time in order to protect the public. So this is another very good example of why government should get involved. You shouldn't be allowed to tell people that these are harmless products when in fact there is a lot of evidence that they're not. Okay, the next two products. So on the left, you see a little a bottle there. It is labeled heroin. This was a product. It was liquid heroin, and it was sold as a cough syrup, which is weird. You think of heroin as some sort of drug that you inject, but in this case, they're selling it as cough syrup. Both can kill you pretty easily, which they discover pretty soon when they're selling this. But ingesting heroin can cause, it will rip your stomach apart if you swallow it like that. So it is extremely dangerous. You can kind of see that this ad is from 1901. And very soon after that, they realized that the huge health effects of heroin on people, it's killing people right and left because they're overdosing on this stuff. So again, this is something that shouldn't be sold as medicine. On the right-hand side, when I first showed this ad, I had everybody guess. First of all, reading the ad, I wanted people to figure out what the heck they were trying to sell. If you read this ad carefully, what they're selling is tapeworms, and they're selling them in little capsules. They're meant to be swallowed, and if you're unfamiliar with what a tapeworm is, it is a parasite that lives in your intestines, and when you eat, it eats the food you're ingesting, and obviously that's how it lives. So it's a parasite, very dangerous. It can cause, intestinal damage, organ damage, and it gets pretty gross. But they're selling a tapeworm here as a fat fighter, as a weight loss aid. And we're very used to that. We have so many, diet books and juicing and all the keto, all the different things you can do to lose weight. But in this case, this ad's from 1925, and it is selling you a very dangerous parasite to swallow to lose weight. Obviously illegal now, but again, there is no indication in this ad about any danger over what you're ingesting here. And very horrible, killed people. And the worst part is, tapeworms, you're going to lose weight, but you're also going to start to get malnourished because they're ingesting your vitamins. And tapeworms are going to grow. They're going to have to come out of you one way or another. And that's where this gets really disgusting. So that brings us full circle back to our original question. When you have class with Mr. Calloway, he's going to ask you this question: why should there be standards for food, for medicine, and for food? And hopefully, the last few examples I gave you will give you some idea of why we should have that. You might be able to think of real world things like when stores have to recall food because it's dangerous or something like that. So finishing up, all of these different dangers in society, particularly the food safety one, is going to come to a head in about 1905. A book called The Jungle is published by Upton Sinclair, and Upton Sinclair is actually investigating the treatment of immigrants in slaughterhouses. So Chicago had meat packing facilities, and that you would have animals come in, they would be slaughtered, butchered, and then packed for food. So he goes undercover to try to help the immigrant workers, and he ends up writing about all of the different stuff that's falling into the meat, all of the disgusting practices. There's no government inspection that's enforced, nothing like that. So when the public reads The Jungle, it causes a huge uproar because people realize how disgusting and dirty the food supply is. And Teddy Roosevelt, who's president at the time, gives a nickname to Upton Sinclair and other journalists, and he calls them muckrakers. They are journalists and photographers who uncover scandals. So in the case of Upton Sinclair, when he wrote The Jungle, he is uncovering this huge problem in the meat packing industry. And that is what Roosevelt is talking about in this cartoon here. He's holding a rake, raking through that muck. You can see that the rake says investigation on it. And he is actually investigating the meat scandal, and he's going to encourage a Meat Inspection Act to be passed because of this. So keep that term muckrakers in your mind. We're going to hear about a lot more of these journalists and photographers who go in and they investigate things like child labor, other problems in society. But as I mentioned, our focus today is food safety and sanitation. So we'll pause right here and just be ready the next time you have a Zoom to answer that question and give me some examples of why there should be standards for food and for medicine.